What's going on, everybody? Doc and Sloth back yet again. Average Gamer guys. We are finally finishing up our Blitz deck updates. Today we're going to talk Decimus. I'm going to let Sloth handle this here in a second, but I got to put in just a few notes for you guys. Again, a lot of these Blitz deck updates that we're doing now is obviously post our beta builds. We actually did a lot of in-depth discussion on those when the beta was out. A lot of that information has generally stayed the same, so those are good reference videos. I'll link them down below in the comments section, so you guys can check those out. Additionally, me and Sloth did a unit comparisons video for the Banished and the UNSC. We've got a nice spreadsheet up that does a really nice unit comparison to the same units within the same class. So I'll link that spreadsheet and the video for that down below as well. That way, again, try to give you some statistical analysis for what we're kind of talking about here. But as far as these updates go, we're not going to talk in depth on a lot of the units that we've already talked before. We're really just going to talk changes for the current deck that we're looking at. So if you are familiar with our last build, the biggest changes as we kind of jump into this for Decimus is going to be, this is actually probably our biggest deck change out of the course of everything. We lost the Hunters, we took out the Banshee, no more Terror Chopper, no more Marauder Warchief, and we kind of swapped up the regular Wraith for the Ironclad Wraith. So Sloth's going to kind of just talk through the strategy for the deck, and I'll hand it over to him.
Yeah, this deck is kind of, it's desperation. We from the very beginning in the beta, we knew Decimus was kind of the worst leader, but we weren't exactly sure why. We weren't able to really put our thumb on it, and with our unit comparison and having a statistical analysis, we found out why. The Terror Chopper, not very good. That shock ability doesn't do much for us. The Marauder Warchief, it's pretty much paying 110 energy for the rally ability. Not that great. These were all issues that we kind of came up with, so we tried to get a little cheeky and kind of think outside of the box. So this deck we're actually going to set up, we're going to try and just spam a lot of units. They're all going to be pretty much units other than the Bloodfuel Grunt that pretty much any of the Banished leaders can get. So this is kind of a jack of all trades, do anything with any leader kind of deck at the very beginning here. The best thing for Decimus is those Bloodfuel Grunts. You'll see actually the starting army, we're going to carry the Vampire starting army, so we're gonna carry 4 of those Bloodfuel Grunts just to start the game, to really go along with that spamming a ton of units kind of idea for him. The Bloodfuel Grunts are very nice. They're actually a lot stronger than the standard Grunts. The idea I think behind that is they're damaging things, so their individual units inside of that unit stay alive and they continue to fire, and I think that's where a lot of that comes from. But just to kind of compare, I mean, the Bloodfuel Grunts are a full 9 seconds faster than the standard Grunts and the Grunt Mob, the individual units in the Grunt Mob. So they are going to be ones that we really want to throw out on the field as much as we can. We're going to use the Locust and the Bloodfuel Locust because we're going to kind of spam those. We're going to probably try and set up along that B and C area and just build up an army. And we're going to use the defensive nature of those Locusts to our advantage. Going to try and set them up on OP Ridge or on choke points and let them really soften things up before they get to us, just because we're kind of desperate here to put out as much damage as possible before they get to us, because we have a lot of squishy units. The Engineer will obviously help kind of keep some of us alive, but between the Bloodfuel Grunts and the Grunt Mob, combining those and then combining both Locusts, hopefully we have enough utility and enough damage output, and really just giving them too many targets to kill quickly. Hopefully we're going to buy ourselves some time on the point and buy ourselves some wins. The Suicide Grunts are a must-have in all of our Banished decks at this point, honestly. That blast ability is just super great. Prowling Reaver is always important in the Banished stuff, and so is the Blisterback. I mean, those are pretty standard. I actually have the Siphon Field in here, and you can't see the Warlord here, because at this point we don't have the Warlord yet, but you'll see the Siphon ability. So between the Siphon Field and the Warlord, Bloodfuel Locust, the Engineer, and the Grunts, we have 5 cards. They can either heal themselves or be able to heal other things. And that's going to be another really important idea for Decimus, is to keep that vampire idea going. So have that Siphon Field on there. We have so many units that, if they're intermixed with the enemy units, I don't really feel like the harming nearby enemies does a whole lot for us, but we'll take whatever we can get. Especially if we can combine that with the Ironclad Wraith and the guard ability. I think it's a really good time to do that, because the Ironclad Wraith is a really good bang for the buck, gives a lot more damage per second than the standard Wraith, and the guard ability for not a whole lot extra money. Boundless Fury actually becomes really important when we have all these units out on the field. So I've spanned my Bloodfuel Grunts, my Locusts, and all those things in the top row. I've spammed as much as I can to use my energy effectively, and then if at that point I want to save up, I've got a big army coming, I hit Boundless Fury. Now I've just boosted, I can boost 10 units at one time, because I have all these low energy units. I'm able to spit them out, and then I spend my big money on Boundless Fury to enrage all of them and boost their damage and speed. When you multiply that by each unit, that's fantastic. That's a big boost. I would rather have that than to boost, say, just one Ironclad Wraith, because you're getting a lot of bang for your buck hitting all those units there. The Warlord is always good. We've said it before, heroes are always worth it. And we don't see him in the deck because we're still trying to pull him. But the Siphon ability, it makes him worth it. He does need a little help from those air units because he can't hit them himself, but feel free to pair him up with that Prowling Reaver, or even the Bloodfuel Grunts and the Locusts and stuff. They're not particularly good at the air units, but they'll do enough damage to make them think twice.
Yeah, really good. I'll just hop in here real quick. Again, we're setting up, we don't have the Warlord, so again, as Sloth was saying, that would fill that final slot. I honestly think the additional fill, if you don't have the Warlord, could go a couple different ways. I think you would be fine putting an additional Wraith in there. If you see yourself fighting a lot of air units and you feel like you're a little weak to air, throwing in the standard Reaver would be all right as well. And then additionally, I know we're not a big fan of the Marauder Warchief, but if you do need a final slot to fill, this might not be so bad for the fact of, again, with you pumping out so many units, the additional little rally ability may end up actually being just close to worth it for this specific build. Normally, again, as far as the Marauder, comparing Marauder and the Marauder Warchief, it is not worth the extra 40 energy. But maybe in this deck, I could see just possibly throwing it in and trying to get, again, the most bang for your buck, having a pretty large grouped army.
Yeah, it's a really good point. That if there's ever an army that could use the rally ability to help them out, it could be this deck. I could definitely see that. I just had trouble fitting it in there somewhere. I could just kind of felt like I picked the units that were low energy and gave a good efficient damage output for that low energy there to be able to spam, and I don't know where I'd fit it in. Maybe if you're not wild about Siphon Field, that could be a good place to replace that too, if you do have the Warlord and you're just wanting that rally ability.
Sure, absolutely. Anything else for the group, Sloth? That was pretty good.
That's it. The statistical analysis is worth checking out, I think, especially on like the Bloodfuel Locust and the Bloodfuel Grunts. We will have the link to that in the description, both to the video for the Banished that we did the unit comparison on, and as well as the spreadsheet, which looks nice and pretty if you're a fan of spreadsheets.
Everybody likes a good spreadsheet. All right, well, we'll wrap that up here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Again, this kind of finishes up our Blitz deck update series. So please go check those out. We've got all the other leaders up at this point as well. And then again, we have those original from the beta builds, which really go in depth on each specific unit. And if you are like fresh into the game, maybe you just picked it up, or you're not familiar with a specific unit, that's a great place to go. Take a look, and where we talk about each unit in specific detail. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Hit that thumbs up button for us, and then again, let us know down in the comments. We're always up for better builds, so especially for Decimus, let us know down in the comments if you're using a different deck, post the cards or whatever your strategy you're using, or if you've just got onesies and twosies swaps, or kind of want to, you know, maybe a little bit more analysis from us on why we picked certain things. Again, the spreadsheet's probably the best way to go because that's what we'll probably reference for the most part, but always up for that discussion. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I've been Doc. That's been Sloth. We are Average Gamer, guys. Thank you so very much for watching. We'll check you next time.